So this is, I want to keep it simple enough because I don't really expect you guys to have to do this by hand. Almost never would I have done this by hand when working in industry. But doing it by hand a couple of times will give us a bit more of an intuitive feel for what it represents and how to interpret it. So there's probably, I think there's just the one or two exercises that will come up on a possible quiz, and you'll see something online. So usually, again, I'll give you a class width, and I'll also tell you a starting point. And as long as you know the class width and a starting point, if someone says start at 60, so if someone tells you start at 60, then, and if it's a class width of 2, then it makes it really easy to just kind of go ahead and create that table. So you'll see that pattern of increasing by 2. Now, if you were to create, let's say we were to create a histogram from this, that pattern of starting somewhere at 60, 62, 64, 66, 68, 70 is going to be pretty easy to do as well. 66. 68, 70, 72. So I'm going to try to do it, and I kind of like to call this a poor man's histogram, where it's initially I'll just do a dot plot. And with this dot plot, if I look at 60, I know that there's one person that is less than 62 but greater than or equal to 60. 61 would also be in here. 62 would be over here, as with this other 62. So if it's equal to, then it's over here on the left. It can, that inequality says if it's less than or equal to, then it tells you where which bin to drop it into. So let me just do this quickly. I'll finish up with 63, which is greater than or equal to 62, but less than 64, 64, 64, 65, 65, and then 66, 66, and finish up with those 3 that are in 67, 1, 2, 3, and then finish up with this one. It's a 1, a 68, 69, and then 71. So when you look at this, it looks like the max frequency is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so if I draw this here where I keep a count of these guys here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you have essentially a histogram. So that's a dot plot. It becomes a histogram when it looks like this. So it's a pretty straightforward way of converting between a histogram and a dot plot. Now, the problem though is if I had given you this data set without any information, how would you decide how many bins you should use? And so there's a formula that's suggested by your book that says the class width, even though I gave it to you a width of 2, it says just simply take the max minus min divided by the number of classes. So the max minus min divided by the number of classes. So the max, which is a 71, minus the min, which is 60, divided by the number of classes. Well, in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 would tell you that we're going to use 11 over 6, which is going to be just less than 2. So 1 and 5, 11, 1 and 5, 6. So if we rounded this up to the next integer, this says that we'd end up with a class width of 2. And that's what we certainly had here, was a class width of 2. So you take your max minus min divided by your number of bins.